Assalamualaikum and a very good evening to our classmate and our dearest lecturer, Professor Dr. Lim Hui Lian. So we are from Group 6. Today we will presenting our presentation. So later I will tell our presentation topic. First of all, I want to introduce my group, which is me, Nur Nadia Farhana binti Julia Stanley, and the second presenter, Eza Najiha binti Azmi, and then Nurliana binti Abdurrahman, Nur Aisyah binti Latfi Amin, and lastly Nur Natasha binti Ahmad Nali. So we proceed to our presentation title. Okay, our presentation topic is we have two questions here. First, A. Reliability and validity are two important aspects in test quality. Explain three differences between reliability and validity. Provide examples for each explanation. So, for first topic, our group will be talking about reliability and validity. Just a briefing, as we want to explain the three differences between reliability and validity. So we need to tell you about reliability and validity first, and then second, we will discuss about factors that influence content validity of a test. So this is the overview of our presentation today. So firstly, we will talk about test quality or good test, and then we will touch about reliability and validity, and then after that we will discuss about three differences between reliability and validity, and then we will talk about factors that influence content validity of a test, and then conclusion. This is our overview for the whole presentation for our group today. Okay. Firstly, we will talk about test quality or good assessment. From the presentation topic just now, we said about reliability and validity is the two aspect in test quality. So test quality means good assessment, which is assessment. What is assessment? Actually, assessment is referred to a wide variety of methods that educators use to evaluate, measure, and document the academic readiness, learning progress, and skill acquisitions of students. Simply put, assessment is how instructor and teachers evaluate whether or not students have learned the taught material. So assessment can range from pop quiz to final exams to midterm papers and project-based assignment, which is united them all is that they measure student learning. So there are three key areas, which is the main aspect, which is the quality on assessment can be measured, which is reliability, validity, and bias. But a good assessment should be reliable, valid, and free of bias. So this is the main point here, which is a good assessment should be reliable, valid. So for our topic today, we will be focused on reliability and validity, and then the difference of reliability and validity, and then we will talk about factors that influence content validity. So the next presentation will be the next slide will be continued by Eza Najiha.
I will explain about the definition of reliability. First, what is reliability? Reliability is the extent of an experiment, test, or any measuring procedure shows the same results on repeated trials. For example, if person takes test Again, will he or she get a similar test score or a matched score? A test that yields similar scores for a person who repeats the test is said to measure a characteristic reliability. This means that reliability refers to the consistency of results. So, measurements need to be consistent so that we are able to make a good decision. There are four types of reliability. The first type of reliability is equivalency reliability. Equivalency reliability is related to co-occurrence of two items because it measures identical concepts at an identical level of difficulty. It's determined by relating two sets of test scores to one another to highlight the degree of relationship or association. The second type of reliability is stability reliability. Stability reliability is refers to related to time and consistency. A measure or test is repeated on the same subjects at a future date. The results are compared and correlated with the initial test to give a measure of stability. There are few types of instruments with the high stability reliability, such as thermometers and compasses. The third type of reliability is internal consistency. Internal consistency is related to the instruments, the extent to which tests or procedures assess the same characteristics, skill, or quality. It measures the precision between the measuring instruments that used in study. It helps to interpret data and predict the value of scores and the limits of the relationships among variables. The fourth type of reliability is iterator reliability. Iterator reliability is related to the examiner's criterion. It extends to which two or more individuals, which is coders or raters, agree. For example, when two or more teachers use a rating scale with which they are rating the students or a response in an interview, such as 1 being most negative, 5 being most positive. If the teachers give a 1, two students respond, while another teachers give a 5, it's obviously the iterator reliability would be inconsistent. Next, I will go through about importance of reliability. There are three importance of reliability that have been found. First, reliability is a precondition for measurement of validity. This means that reliability and validity has the relationships. Second, reliability is important because it ensures that the conclusion we make about the social phenomena we are studying are an objective. The last one for the importance of reliability is important in the design of assessment because there's no assessment is truly perfect.
So, beside of reliability, validity is one of the most important criteria for the quality of test. So, what is validity? Validity is the term refers to whether or not the test measures what it claims to measure. On a test with high validity, the items will be closely linked to the test intended focus. It means the test with high validity, the items in the test will be linked to the focus, what is the teacher want to measure in the test. So, for many certification and licensure tests, this means that the items will be highly related to a specific job or occupation. If a test has full validity, then it does not measure the job-related content and competency it ought to. It means if a test has a poor validity, so the content in the content or the items in the test is not focused to the what is the teachers want to focus to. So, when this is the case, there is no justification for using the test result for the intended purpose. There are several ways to estimate the validity of a test, including content validity, construct validity, and criterion-related validity. So, we will look what is the validity of the content below. So, what is a content validity? Content validity assesses whether a test is representative of all aspects of the construct. To produce valid result, the content of a test, survey, or measurement method must cover all relevant parts of the subject it aims to measure. If some aspects are missing from the measurement, or if irrelevant aspects are included, the validity is threatened. It means the content validity is important because uh, if the teachers want a valid result, so the teachers must assesses all the topic in the subject, not only for a certain subject, because it must cover all relevant parts of a subject. So the teacher need to measure uh, the all of the topic in the subject. So for example, a mathematics teachers develop an end of semester algebra test for her class. The test should cover every form of algebra that was taught in the class. If some type of algebra are left out, then the result may not be an accurate indication of students' understanding of the subject. Similarly, if she included questions are not related to algebra, the result are no longer a valid or algebra knowledge. So for the second type of validity is criterion validity. What is criterion validity? Criterion validity evaluates how closely the result of your test correspond to the result of a different test. The criterion is an external measurement of the same thing. It is usually an established or widely used test that is already considered valid. To evaluate criterion validity, you calculate the correlation between the result of your measurement and the result of the criterion measurement. If there is a high correlation, this gives a good indication that your test is measuring what is intended to measure. There are two different types of criterion validity, the concurrent validity and the predictive validity. Concurrent validity means the concurrent validity measures how well a new test compared to an well-established test. It can also refer to the practice of concurrently testing two groups at the same time, or asking two different groups of people to take the same test. Occurs when the criterion measure are obtained about the same time as the test score. For the example, if the trial PMR result is highly correlated with the PMR result proper, they will have high concurrent validity. Predictive validity. What is a predictive validity? Predictive validity means the criterion measures are obtained at the time after the test. So, the teacher will use a predictive validity to predict future performance of the student. So that's mean the teachers will do the test, and after that the score of the test will use to predict the future performance of the students. For example, if the PMR result is highly correlated with the SPM result, the PMR will have high predictive validity. So for the last types of validity is construct validity. What is construct validity? Construct validity is the extent to which the measurement used. Often questionnaires actually test the hypothesis or theory they are measuring. It means construct validity is most to the test with the hypothesis or theory that the teachers want to measure, and the teachers usually use a questionnaire to develop the test. The construct validity should demonstrate that scores on a particular test do predict the theoretical trait it says it does. For example, if male students were found to have performed better than the females in special tests, the test may show evidence of high construct validity. Or if male students were found to have performed better than the females in anatomy test, the test may show evidence of low construct validity. To achieve construct validity, you have to ensure that your indicators and measurements are carefully developed based on relevant existing knowledge. The importance of validity. Validity is the most important issue in selecting a test. Validity refers to what characteristic the test measures and how well the test measures that characteristic. First, the importance of validity is the validity tells you if the characteristic being measured by a test is related to job qualifications and requirements. Second, the validity gives meaning to the test score. Validating evidence indicates that there is linkage between test performance and job performance. It can tell you what you may conclude or predict about someone from his or her score on the test. If a test has been demonstrated to be a valid predictor of performance on a specific job, you can conclude that persons scoring high on the test are more likely to perform well on the job than the person who score low on the test, all else being equal. So it means um, if we have a valid, if the teachers have a validity in the score, so the teachers can predict the students' performance from the score and from the students' scores in the test. And the third of importance of validity is validity also describes the degrees to which you can make a specific conclusion or predictions about people based on their test score. In other words, it indicates the usefulness of a test.
Thanks to the leading presenter. For my part, I will tell you about three differences between reliability and validity. So for the first difference between these two is for validity, which is its extent to which a test measure and what is claimed to measure. Validity is about the accuracy of a measure. For example, the thermometer that students use to test the sample give reliable result. However, the thermometer has not been calibrated properly, so the result is 2 degrees lower than the true value. Therefore, the measurement is not valid. For reliability anyways, it is consistency of the test result. Reliability refer to how consistent the result of a study are or the consistent result of a measuring test. For example, students measure the temperature of a liquid sample several times under identical conditions. The thermometer displays the same temperature every time, so the results are reliable. For the second difference, which is validity, is measure whether the extent to which the test the claims to measure is achieved. If you use score or rating to measure variation in something, it is important that your result reflect the
real variation as accurately as possible. Validity should be considered in the in the very earliest stage of your research when you decide how you will collect your data. For example, to collect data on a personality trait, you could use a standardized questionnaire that is considered reliable and valid. If you develop your own questionnaire, it should be based on established theory or finding of previous study, and the question should be carefully and precise worded. For reliability anyway, it measure whether the test give consistent result as its outcome. Reliability should be considered throughout the data collection process. When you use a tool or technique to collect data, it is important that the results are precise, stable, and reproducible. For example, if you are conducting interview or observation, clearly define how specific behaviors or responses will be counted, and make sure questions are phrased the same way each time. For the last difference between validity and reliability is, for validity there are two types as internal validity and external validity. Internal validity refers to whether it's exclusively the independent variable causing the change, or whether they are confounding variable. External validity refers to how the laboratory study can be generalized to real life setting. For reliability, there are two types as internal reliability and external reliability. Internal reliability refers to how consistent the measure is within itself. A personality test produce the same result when the same procedures are carried out for a test. For example, if a research study takes place, the result should be almost replicated if the study is replicated. That's all for me. We are going to the next presenter. Thank you.
Okay, I'm pretty sure that you already understand about what is reliability and validity. Okay, now I will explain to you about factors that influence content validity of a test. It has been divided into four parts, which is test factors, test administrations, test scoring, and students' responses. Okay, now I will explain to you one by one. The first one is test factors. Unclear directions. As we know, direction was really important in the test because if the direction was unclear, it will cause the student will not understand the direction and it will make the student answer all the questions wrongly. Then sentences too difficult. The teacher have to make sure that the word or sentences that have been used in a test was suitable for the students. Example, if the students was among a secondary students, then the sentences or the word that have been used have to suitable for the secondary students. Then inadequate time limits. Many students have been told that they have or they got a bad result in the test because they didn't get enough time in the test. So the teachers have to make sure that all the students get enough time to answer all the questions properly. Overemphasize on easy to assess domain at the expense of important but difficult to assess aspects. And then inappropriate test items or format. test items or format are also an important part in the test. So the teachers have to make sure that the test items or format that have been used in the test have been appropriate and suitable for the students. Then purely constructed test item. To make a test item, the teachers have to make sure that they already constructed an appropriate test item so that the student will can answer all the question in a good way. Then test too short. If the test too short, it will make the student might confused with the question, and it will also make the student make a wrong answer for the questions. And the last one is improper arrangement items. The second one is test administration. Insufficient time. As I told you before, time is really important in the test factors because if the student didn't get enough time to answer all the questions, it will cause they got a bad result in the test or in the examination. The second one is unfair aid, and the third one is cheating because if the students might be cheating in the test, the result that they got is not their real result, which is it will make the teachers difficult to know their real achievement. The third one is test scoring, inconsistency and incompetency of test writers. As we know, us students must have a consistency in their test because it is unlogical if their test will be down or too high drastically. The last one is students' response, which is mean the first one is emotional disturbance, which is the student might be emotional and feel exhausted because of the test, especially if the test was too hard for them. Second was is test anxiety. A lot of students have a test anxiety. It will cause they might answer all the question in a wrong way because they are too afraid of the questions. And the last one is unmotivated students. Usually, unmotivated student is always take a test without studying anything, and which is it is not good for the student or for the teacher as well because it will make the teachers really difficult to get their students' result, which is their real results and their real achievement.
So, as conclusion, reliability and validity are parameters of research and tests. Hence, for research to be of use, both these aspects should be there: reliability and validity. The difference between the validity and reliability is that validity refers to the extent to which a test measures and what it claims to measure, whereas reliability refers to the consistency of the test result. However, when the research of a test is valid, then the data is reliable. Yet, if a test is reliable, that does not mean that the test is valid. Thank you.